short video on goal setting in higher PE. Today we're going to talk about different types of goals. On screen just now highlighted in yellow are some questions that we're going to look at how you might answer today if these questions were to appear in your higher PE exam. We're going to look at how you might identify a short-term goal for the mental, emotional, social or physical factor. We're going to look at how you would identify a long-term goal for the mental, emotional, social or physical factor, and how you might describe a short and long-term goal for the mental, emotional, social or physical factor. So first things first, what is goal setting? Well, goal setting is all about setting targets, and performers will use these to help try and motivate or guide themselves towards a particular goal or target. For you, as a student of higher PE, this is going to be an ongoing process. If your goals are met, then you will set new, harder targets, and if your goals are not being met, if they are too difficult, then we're going to make some changes. Some examples of goal setting from your life may be to sit down with your teachers at the start of the year and set some targets at school. You might sit down and try and achieve a higher A in biology, for example, and you may also complete some weekly or daily to-do lists. These are both examples of setting some goals and targets from your life. So goals in higher PE can be classified as short-term, medium-term or long-term, and really what makes the difference between these goals is the difficulty of them and also the timescale. The first one we're going to look at is short-term goals, and these are a series of targets which are easy to meet. Lots of short-term goals will be set in order to help you reach your long-term goal, and these targets can be daily, or they can be for each training session, or they can be for 1 week of your program. On screen just now are some examples of short-term goals of a pupil who is looking to get an A pass in their National 5 Maths. Some short-term targets, some things that they would do each day or each week are to make sure that homework is handed in on time each week. They would ask questions in class if they were stuck, and they would ensure that they concentrate fully in every lesson. And hopefully these little targets will help to push them towards their long-term goal of getting an A. Now, when we look at setting some goals, we have to consider our SMART principles. Our goals have to make sure that they take into account the SMART principles. And the SMART principles stand for specific, measurable, adjustable or achievable, recorded, and time-bound. So these things need to be specific to you and your weakness. They need to mention one particular sub-factor from your activity of your choice. Our goals need to be measurable, and this is really, really important. They must have something that they're going to start with, and we're going to try and improve it. So for example, using a PPW, I'm going to try and improve my anger levels from a 4 to a 7 in 5 weeks' time. So you can see I'm taking it from a 4 and I'm trying to improve it to a 7. So there needs to be a comparison. Our goals need to be achievable. We want our goals to be challenging but achievable. If our goals are too difficult or too easy, we're going to be demotivated and we're not going to want to put in as much work as possible during our PDP. Our goals also need to be adjustable, and that means that they can either then be made harder if we meet these targets, or if they are too difficult, then we can make them slightly easier. It's important that your goals are recorded and they're written down somewhere. This is so that we can look back as a method of monitoring in a few weeks' time, but also that they are agreed with a coach. And lastly, and this is probably the most important, our goals need to have a time period. And what we mean by that is there needs to be a time scale so that in a few weeks' time, or in 10 weeks' time, or in 2 weeks' time, we can look back at our training diary and see, have we met these targets? We're now going to look at trying to set some short-term goals. So, as we've mentioned before, these short-term goals, we would set lots of little targets, lots of targets which are easy to complete, and the time scale for these would be less than 2 weeks. So we want to say something like the next session, the next week, or in the next 2 weeks, I want to, and then tell us about it. On screen just now are some examples from a pupil who has been doing a higher PE PDP. In 2 weeks, I want to decrease my anxiety level, so it's been really specific. We've got our time scale there, from 21 to 19 in the SCAT test. So in 2 weeks' time, we can look back and we can measure, has this person met their target? Next week, I will increase my fartlek training session from 25 minutes to 27 minutes. So it's a small increase because it's only going to be next week, and we're taking it from 25 up to 27. Moving on now to long-term goals. Now, long-term goals take a long time to achieve, as it says in the name. These goals might be unrealistic or unattainable for some performers, and that's why we would set a lot of short-term goals and even some medium-term goals to help us meet our long-term goals. So for us as a higher PE candidate, these are going to be the things that you are working towards at the end of your PDP. And for us, this is going to be a 10-week timescale, if not longer. Some examples of long-term goals are shown on screen. Now, because this is a target which is further away in terms of time and the distance, we're going to make the increase a lot bigger. So as you can see here, this person has said, in 10 weeks, I want to improve my stamina from 10.1 to 12.1 using the bleep test. So you can see there that they're going to try and go up 2 whole levels in the bleep test in 10 weeks' time. That might seem like a big jump or something that's difficult or unachievable, but if we set lots of short-term targets, that's definitely something that we can meet in 10 weeks' time. And lastly, in 10 weeks, I want to improve the effectiveness of my overhead clear during a game from 40% fairly effective to 70% fairly effective. And that is looking at our overhead clear using a general observation schedule. I hope this video has made it very clear to you what are the different types of goals and how you might go about setting some goals using the SMART principles. Thank you very much for watching. There's more content like this on my YouTube channel.